COE champion over everything.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of COE Champion Over Everything. I am excited today. I have one of my mentors with me, Mr. Rick Windbush, and Rick is going to come on today, and he's going to talk about two important things that he helped to teach me. One is perspectives, and the other one is principles. Rick, how's everything going, brother?
Man, I am doing better than good. I'm honored to be here on your show, man. And I'm so proud of you, man, of all the great things that I see you're doing. And so I just count it all a joy and a blessing that you have invited me and that I'm sitting in the hot seat. This is exciting.
Sir.
I'm looking forward to it.
Look, thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir.
Rick, as always, the way that we start off our show is by you sharing your champion story. And man, I spent maybe about 9 months under your leadership, and during that particular time, man, you got a bunch of different champion stories. You got a lot of different champion stories and some things that you had to overcome in life.
Yes,
but so if you can kind of condense it today for today's episode, the podium is now yours to share your champion story.
Absolutely. And I thank you. So, the reality of it is that, I have a story that's kind of similar to it for a lot of people. You start off with a family, your mom and dad. My dad was badly abused. My mother was badly abused. Two abused people come together. They don't know any better, but they just love, they don't know what love really is, but they have this idea of it. And all they are is committed. They're committed to one another. And so they had me. They didn't know I was coming. My parents only had been together for literally 3 months when they found out that, my mom found out she was pregnant. They got married. I grew up, it was abusive, very badly abused. And I don't say these things because I want empathy. I say these things because I want people to understand that when you look at me, oftentimes you see the glory, but you don't understand the story. The way I speak, the way I look. Some people say you come off real polished. You come off like you came from a great family. I had tremendous struggles. I've almost died 3 times. I've had guns shot at me. I've tried to commit suicide. And so I'm no different than a lot of the people that are out here struggling. What makes me different is my belief system and the things and the people that supported me. I had grandparents too. I had some grandparents that were phenomenal. And they helped me make sense of things when things didn't make sense. Things like, why should we make up our bed? We used to sleep right back in it and understand it had nothing to do with the bed. It has everything to do with the fact that if you can start disciplining yourself, you discipline your mind to do small things. Then when you can be responsible over little things. You can be responsible over bigger things, right?
Yeah.
And so I got married. I have a beautiful, beautiful wife. I give her a lot of credit because she met me at a time when I was still working on Rick Windbush. I wasn't quite refined yet. I had some temper issues. And I have 2 beautiful children. One just turned 26. The other one is going to be 16 soon. And I just work hard. I work smart, and I stick to the principles of life. I believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I have different perspectives on those things, but I believe in them, and I will not stray from those principles. And I just believe that you take these things with you everywhere you go. You can't be a part-time believer. It's either you're all in or you all out. You believe or you don't believe. You can't dip and dab, right? Because whatever you put out, you get back. And so I believe in those little simple principles, man. And those are the things that I when we work together. I don't really say you were under me because we worked together. You taught me just as much as I taught you, and you're still teaching me. I'm here on your program. I told you I never know when you may one day you might supervise me one day. So this is the reason why I always show respect, because I don't know who I'm talking to. I could be talking to the next president of the United States. I could be talking to the next greatest a journalist in the world, sitting right here before me. So I'm honored. But that's my story. It's very similar to a lot of brothers and sisters that are out there. No different. The only thing is that, like you said, principles and perspective. How you see things and the way you respond to it, because at the end of the day, that's just life. Life is
Right.
about choices. The choices, the way you see it, and the choices you make. That's it.
That's it. Man, one thing I love about Rick is, you know, under his leadership, being able to learn how to see things in multiple ways. Like, so when we start talking about perspectives, like definitely seeing things in multiple ways. You know, most recently, of course, we all know what happened at the Oscars. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and people had their own thoughts, their own opinions on what happened. But here's the
Mhm.
deal: it was either to the extreme right or to the extreme left. And there's always another perspective. And that's what I loved about Rick, because he can give me something and he'll start telling me about a topic and I'm start thinking about it. And I'm looking at it with just my surface vision. I'm not going deep. So Rick, how was it that you learned how to take a deep dive to really see many different perspectives in life? And then what advice could you offer to our audience?
So one of the things, that I taught you, brother, we learned together, actually, I will say, is that you always will see what you see the way you see it, because that's all based on multiple factors, right? The way you were brought up, your education, how you who taught you what, right? The way that they saw it is the way that you'll see, kind of the way you'll be able to see things, right? So you understand your perspective, but the best way to look at perspective is to always not question your perception. Question, do you really think you see what you see? You know what magic is? Magic is sleight of hands, right? The hands, they say the hands are faster than the eyes, right? But is that really what's going on? Or is it just that there's clever ways that the hand is moving that is designed to allure you to focus on one thing while something else is really happening? So when in reality, when you're looking at reality, your reality is your perception, right? Question your perception. Question your perception.
Yeah.
Do I really see what I'm seeing? And whatever I saw, what is the opposite of that? How could I see it in an opposite direction? If I'm looking at a ball and the ball appears white, is that a ball? Is that really a ball? How do I know it's a ball? Because someone told me it was a ball. But what if it's not a ball? What if it just looks like a ball?
Yeah.
What if it's a rock that's been highly polished and smooth textured and designed to look like a ball? You know, the glass is half empty or half closed. You're optimist or you're pessimist. Oftentimes people give you choices, and then out of those choices, you choose between the two. But who says you have to do that? Why can't you forge your own? How do I even know that's a glass? How do I know that's water? Right. I mean, we can take it as far as we want, but when you start doing those things, you start looking at things very differently, because then you start wondering, well, do I know that's water? Right? I mean, is that really a glass? Right? Can I see through it? Like, how do I don't know what that is, right?
Yeah.
And you're not doing it to be facetious. You're doing it because you want to understand. The more perspectives you can get, the better your understanding can be. If you only have one perspective, then you are one dimension. You go through life only seeing things the way you want to see it. And then this is where you get the persons who will say there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. Well, everyone knows that there's multiple ways of getting things done.
Right.
And there's more efficient ways of getting things done. And there's lesser efficient ways. But what is the purpose? Is it done to get it faster? Or is that the reason why we want to do this? Or we want to learn something from this? So when you question your perception and you start questioning everything about that perception, then you start learning more and you start realizing, well, maybe maybe that wasn't water. Maybe it was liquor. Maybe it was alcohol. Maybe it was soda. I don't know. And somebody says, well, what does that matter? What does it matter whether I see it half empty or half full? What does it matter for that? You know, question your perception.
Yeah. Deep. Rick, you spoke to operating through the small things. And one of the first times I met Rick, we were in a meeting and he pulled out this jar and he put in some big items. Then he put in some medium sized items, but then he put in the small things. He put some small, I think it may have been some peas or some rice or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
and it encompassed the rest of that jar. Why are the small things so important in comparison to those big long term things? Why is it important to operate with the small first before we can go big?
yeah. You know, I thank you for bringing that up, because everything we know, everything about this life starts with something small. You know, every matter on earth is made with what? Atoms. Microscopic. We can't even see them with the human eye. They're so small. Everything we know that is made up of something large or small, it's all made up of something very small, very tiny. If we look at you and I both right now are looking at monitors. The monitor, I don't know how big your monitor is. I imagine that you probably have two of them. And you're probably fairly large, you know, at least 32 inches, right? 24 inches, right? They're made up of what? Small pixels. If one of those pixels burst, it alters the entire picture. Because where does your eye focus? On that one pixel. And it doesn't matter whether it's white, the screen is white, or the screen is black. It doesn't matter, because if a pixel is broken, you're going to see it, because your eye automatically focuses on all the small things. It automatically does it. You know, and so why is it so important to understand the small things? Because when you understand how something is made and how it came to be, then you understand, then you have the power.
Right.
You have all the power. It's like playing chess with somebody. My daughter and I were playing chess yesterday, because I'm helping her with perspective. And she is making moves based on what she knows and understands. And I told her, get up, stand up, come around my way, and look at the board from my perspective. There's no rule in chess say you can't do it. Nobody does it, because the goal is to try to prove that I can see out with you at a perspective from my vantage point.
Right.
But if you really want to understand what somebody understands, this is the reason why the Father comes back to principles. The Father said, walk a mile, why take the plank out of your own eye first?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can remove the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye. But you got this big thing sitting in your eye, which is blocking your vision to keep you from being able to understand and see the smaller things, because that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so you can't get caught up in the small things, but if one of those small things is wrong, you'll notice it, but you may not focus on it, because you're worried about what the big picture, right?
Right.
But the big picture will never be complete until you fix that small thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you take care of the little things as we go along, like, my father once taught me as a kid, it was one of the lessons my father, he was very rudimentary on when principles. Clean up as you mess up. Clean up as you mess up. Right? So at the end, you don't have a bunch of dishes.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? You clean that one dish at a time. At the end of it, you just what? You just wipe down the stove, you wipe down the countertop.
And you good to go.
Because all your dishes are done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. That's all it is that's the reason why it's important. Small things, it's the small things in like that matter. It's not me giving you a lot of money. It's me telling you I love you and showing you that matters, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. So you just kind of brought this up about principles. I was gonna lead there next. Rick has a boatload full of principles. Like, it was hard for me to keep up with all of them. And I'm a butcher the way that you say this one, but the principle is still the same. The fundamentals of it is still the same. But it's power of promotion through positive. What was the last P? It was pretty much to where you're practicing promotion, because you are speaking positive words about the person that's ahead of you.
Yes,
and
sir.
This particular principle, I want you to break that one down and correct me on how it was phrased. But this particular principle, Rick taught me this principle, and several others in our group. And I remember my wife was coming up for a promotion, and she went to her boss's boss and spoke highly positive words of her boss. And eventually my wife got promoted to the next position. And that was one of the principles that I learned. So Rick, speak to that principle. And if you can, share 2 of your other most popular principles that you carry around with you day in and day out, my friend.
Okay. Yeah. So it's procuring the power of principles by being a positive person. Right. So here's the deal. Let's use analogies. Every word I speak is a reflection of thought. Anytime you hear anybody speak, because you're hearing the vibration of thought. That's all it is. There are different signals for which we all respond to. We tend to respond immediately to strong signals. Strong signals can be positive or negative, right? When you hear a deep bass growls, when you hear a high note, you respond to that too. Strong signals, right?
Right.
So by being a positive person, what does that mean? It means that the way that you choose to perceive things, you give the benefit of what we call, the benefit of the doubt. But you also use what we call sound logic. Not logic, sound logic.
Mm-hmm.
Sound logic is logic that encompasses principles from the Father. I'll give you an example. If I ask you what the world teaches us, that whatever goes up must come down.
Right.
That's what we all learned, right?
Right.
And most people would agree with that. But the Father teaches us whatever goes down
must come up.
Must come up. The more humble you are, the more resilient and the higher you go. The world teaches us the higher you go, you're eventually gonna fall. So it don't make no difference. Everybody gonna fall, right? So the reality of it is by being a positive person, you always want to promote you and your strengths. Very rarely, when I'm in individual settings, like when I was with you, I would talk about my areas of opportunity. When I'm in front of groups of people and we have to get business done, I speak to my strengths. And the reason why, now weaknesses are strengths, believe it or not, they are your strengths. That's why you need other people to help you. It's the way to get people to help you that makes you strong, right? So we have to change our perspective on, we say weaknesses and strength, and we let the world kind of dictate what that means to us because we learned it that weaknesses are negative and strengths are positive, right? But in order for me to be positive and to be strong, I have to endure some levels of pain.
Right.
If I don't go through pain, no gain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if we understand this, me being in pain gives me opportunity to not only go through the experience, but to give it to others. Mm-hmm. So when I say, power of promotion, here's what I mean by this as an analogy. I'm your supervisor, right? Mm-hmm. And I have a supervisor and you work, I outrank you, okay? Now, we also have peers that work. You have peers that work beside you. I have peers that work beside me. So we got this dynamic kind of going. Mm-hmm. If you understand procure means to be the result of. Mm-hmm. I'm the result of this, right? So I'm going to procure being a positive person to all the people that are in my circle. So when I talk to my supervisor, guess who I'm talking about? I don't talk about me. We talk about you.
Right.
And how great Reginald is and all the great things and the progress that Reggie's making. I speak to your strengths. I tell them areas where we're going to help you improve and where you're showing resilience. Okay? Keep it positive because promotion doesn't come because of what you know. I want to make that clear. Promotion does not come because you are the most skilled person.
Definitely does not.
Does not. Promotion doesn't come because of who you know. We know a lot of people. And that doesn't mean we're getting promoted because we know this. My wife is cousins with Michael Jordan. We've never met him. We don't know him. But just because he's family doesn't make it that because he knows we're family. Oh, well, now I get to be a billionaire.
Nah.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
But what does it mean? How do you get promoted? You get promoted by who knows and likes you. That's where your promotion comes from. If you ever think about all the times that you've gotten promoted, even including the analogy we've given with your wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
She had to be liked.
Right.
Somebody liked her, and they liked what she did. They liked the way her disposition was as a person. They liked the way she carried herself and the way she presented herself. And what she did was she promoted other people.
Mm-hmm.
See, because if you are a person who is afraid of success, then you it's all about you. But when you're a person who is all about success, you understand it's not about me at all. It's about how many people I can bring along the journey.
And look, I want to go into the next point right there, because I know in our conversation we had maybe about a month or so ago, you were very passionate about you and I, our minds connected on this point, this topic of creating a super team, so to say.
Yes.
And that's just pretty much bringing like-minded individuals together, uniting them for better. So kind of give us your viewpoints on that super team and what it's going to take for us as people to live a better than good life.
Absolutely. This is something you obviously know. This is, for me, this is everything. This topic right here, as you just brought up, is like my heart, man. So I'm putting my heart out right now. I remember growing up, and I'm pretty confident that you grew up, because I'm in your family. I see your family. Your family adopted me.
Yeah.
And your wife, Cookie, man, she is the bomb, man. You are certainly a blessing. Your daughters you're a blessed man, and they're blessed to have you as well. But when I say this is something that I want to make sure it's very clear to understand that when we were brought up, I was brought up that it takes a village to raise a child. Somewhere from the time that I grew up to where we are today, that saying has gone away.
We lost the village.
Mm-hmm. So now it's all about individuality, and somewhere along the way, it's been about mama. For the most part, mama. And not that there's anything wrong with mama, because Lord knows I have a mother. I love my mom. And I think there's a lot of women that are doing the very best they can with what they have. But there's a lot of brothers doing the best they can and doing what they have too. But here's where I want to go with this. We have to get back to being a village. I remember Heavy D said something. We used to pick cotton, but at least we used to do it together. Right? We were doing something we didn't even like to do. We were forced to do, but at least we did it together. Yeah. So my question to us is that we're in an era of information. We have more information than we've ever had. We have access to information than we've ever had before. And people say with knowledge comes power. I disagree. It's the implementation of knowledge that equals power.
Right. Applied.
It's applied knowledge. So if we have the knowledge, it's at our disposal, and we can apply it. What are we learning about power? That power works best when it's working with itself. It works for energy. So I can't really take away from energy. It just transforms into something different. You and I, we say we're spiritual beings having a what? Earthly experience. We're not earthly beings having a spiritual experience. Right? So when we leave, we will never die, because you can't kill power. You can't kill power. And we just transform from one world to another, right? So my question is, if we understand these principles, and these are principles that most of us are grounded in, then why are we not operating in these principles while we're here on life? Because the principle of life says, what we bind on earth, we also bind in heaven.
That's it.
And what we loose on earth, we also loose in heaven.
Yeah.
So if we bind ourselves together on earth and work together, then that's what's going to go on. That's what's going on in heaven. But if we hold ourselves back from each other, we may not even make it. We may not even make it to heaven, because heaven is about unity. It's about energies coming together as one. So the question that the problem, so what we have to ask ourselves is, why don't we do this? Why? Well, we understand Jim Crow laws, slavery, all that took place. We got that. I'm not belittling it. It's still impacting us to this day. And it's a very, very difficult, because we've had 400 years of just pure psychological torture, psychological, physical, and any type of torture. We're the most abused people on the planet.
Right. Yeah.
But at some point, we gotta say, with the knowledge that we have accessible today, we can make a difference. We can change the narrative. We do not have to continue to be abused. How will we do it? We will not do it as individuals. We have to do this as a team. We have to work together. So you ask, well, how come we can't work together? Well, a lot of people will tell you, too many chiefs, no Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody want to be in charge. Nobody wants to be the person who's following. Everybody wants to be the one giving orders. Now, there is something that if you read your word, that the Father said he made creations, and these creations awe him. Like they like we say the word awesome. The word awesome means, like, it really, we shouldn't be saying awesome, because that means like it is beyond, it's almost godlike, right? But they say, well, he can say awesome because he's the creator of all things, right? He says, these creatures I created awe me. And one of them is the locusts. And he says, when they go to attack, even though they are individual and have no leader, they attack in legions, in order. No leader. Nobody calls them together. No one locust is in charge. Not one. They all understand the purpose. Something is trying to hurt us. Mm-hmm. And they automatically line up in order, and they move in sections and in legions, all by themselves. My question is, if we are the most intelligent things of all of God's creation that he's the most proud of, and we've been given dominion over the land, and everything that we have in the earth was put for our purpose, our understanding. How is it simple for an insect, to understand and work with itself, but a more sophisticated and more intelligent being, we don't know how to work together because we're so egotistic. We've got the ego now involved, right? How is it possible that we can work together? So my thing is calling for people, not as much as like-minded, but in understanding that differences make us stronger. Mm-hmm. I don't want a whole bunch of team of people that think like I do. I need, and I want to quote this because Steve Jobs said he hired great people, to help make his company great. He doesn't hire great people to tell them what to do to be great. He doesn't. Mm-hmm. So my biggest thing is I want to get with individuals. I'm serious. I want to be with individuals who understand that I don't have to be, I'm a leader in my own right. I don't always have to be a display of leadership, especially when I have people around me who are blessed, who are magnanimous, who are special and gifted at doing what they do and operating in their strengths. Yeah. I don't need to own or dominate their strength in order for us to work together. Right. All we have to do is say, this is where you're strong, and identify where I'm strong, and find out how we bring them together. Mm-hmm. And that way, we are also working as individuals, because individually, I'm still working on me. I still go in my prayer closet. I'm still praying. I'm still studying. I'm still getting my education. I'm still doing the things that I need to do to build me, but only so I can stay in the arena with people who are doing the same things. Right. Right. We don't all have to agree on the way we see it. We just have to be able to agree when we move together as one. Right.
And I
And that's
think
what,
that's where we are right now. We definitely have to have. We hear that term, changing the narrative, right?
yes.
And that's where we are right now. Is that there's a call, there's a need for people, no matter what region you're in. You know, if you're north, south, east, west, around the world, no matter where you are, to where we have now have to band together, as you have stated, and we have to change the narrative. Um, but my brother, what's the first step? What do we do first? How do we get there?
Well, I think first we have to be in agreement. We have to, each individual has to know themselves. No, you know, it goes back to know thyself. Know thyself. It's okay for me not to, it's okay for me to admire you and not be threatened by you because you exhibit a strength or skill set that I may want or don't have.
Right.
It's okay for me to be that way. It's okay for me to admire you without being jealous of, without being envious of you. And I think a lot of it, you know, we have to be deprogrammed because we have to question our perception. We have to understand, we have to change the way we understand things, not by changing what we see, but asking ourselves, is that how I see it? How many times have you heard or seen where two people, there's an accident that takes place, everyone saw the accident, and then when people go to talk about the accident, there's almost like various stories about that same accident.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because everybody was at a very different vantage point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect my story to sound just like yours. You weren't at the same vantage point as I was. You should have saw something different than I saw. Your intellectual being sees something different than understands something more or less than my intellectual being understands about certain particular things. That doesn't make you a less or a better person. It just makes you unique in quality. That's what we mean by perfection. You are perfect in all your ways. I don't always act perfect in the sense that according to man's definition of perfect, but I am perfectly mine. I perfectly think the way I perfectly think.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I'm confident about I'm not being threatened by by Reggie because that's not how it went down.
Right.
You know, we want to argue perspective. I can't argue perspective. I wasn't watching I wasn't in your vantage point. I wasn't, and even if I was at your vantage point, I still probably wouldn't have saw the same thing.
Right.
No two things on earth are equal. We don't agree. But it's not the agreement that makes us unique. I want to stress this. It's not the agreement that makes us unique. It's the non-agreement that makes us unique. And what we do with that agreement, we do with that cycle of not agreeing. Mm-hmm. What do we do with it? Do we battle each other or do we embrace each other?
And look, you know, going back to the Will Smith topic.
Yes.
It's so many people that I've had conversations with that are in my personal circle, so to say, to where like some of them just got mad because we saw things differently. I'm not that type of person. You're not that type of person. We can agree to disagree, but still agree that something has to change. And I think Absolutely. A lot of times that people miss out on, well, you didn't see it from our viewpoint, or you didn't back me up on this, and then they fall out. So right. as people, we do have to, y'all that's listening, we got to do a better job at understanding it's okay to agree to disagree and still be able to move forward, because I think a lot of times relationships are dismembered. You know, they're broken apart because people have disagreements and they're not mature enough to understand it was okay that we didn't agree. But what's the plan going forward? So 127 up, 1633. Smoking Charlie barbecue, where you wanna eat. Yeah. 60127 up, 1633. Take it. Smoking Charlie barbecue, where you wanna eat. Right. You know, Reggie, I think what we saw, what we're experiencing right now as a result of the whole Will Smith and Chris Rock situation, I think you're experiencing people expressing their perspective from their vantage point. That's what we're seeing. So whoever, you know, most people feel like their experiences, people are relating to the person
who has the experience, who's closest to their experience. So if you've been in a situation where you've been hurt, you've been in a struggle with your life, maybe, then you kind of understand Will Smith's perspective. Yeah. But if you've been bullied before and understand that your struggles are very real, you've done drugs and it's put you in precarious situations, and you've always been the guy who kind of had to tell it like it was. You made a life out of
keeping it real,
keeping it real on some level, or again having a perspective that most people think and don't want to say, right? Then you'll start siding with Chris Rock, right?
Right.
So everybody is really speaking from their experience. And that doesn't mean that either one is right or wrong. And I think this is the problem why we get into debates. The word teaches us is because it's the sin that lives within us is why we argue among ourselves. Why do we have to argue who's right or wrong? Why can't we both be right? Because you're speaking from your experience. Mm-hmm. You're seeing it based on the way you understand it, the way you want to do it, based on your experiences.
Yeah.
And some people say Will was defending his. Some say it had nothing to do with Jada. Right? Everybody saying some had everything to do with Jada. Yeah. Some say Chris Rock was out of place for telling the joke. Others say, no, that's what comedians do. Mm-hmm. Some say Will could have just exerted his power by walking away and showing, as a kind of as a protest. Some say he should have got up on stage and said, look, brother, we do enough job of putting sisters down. We don't need to put sisters down anymore. Mm-hmm. Some say Chris Rock knew Jada had alopecia. Some say he had no clue.
Yeah, right.
So who's right, who's wrong?
Right.
Well, we don't know. We will never know, right? Mm-hmm. We will only know what someone tells us, which is either Will Smith will apologize. Obviously, he realized that wasn't the best version of him.
Right.
So we're defending him, and he's already admitting that he's not the best version of him. Mm-hmm. We haven't heard really from Chris Rock yet. We don't know if Chris feels that what he did was wrong or not. But at the end of the day, so what happens? I prove my point, you prove your point. Now what? How does that change us as a people?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like you said, only thing that matters is that we take events, and we have to understand that those events happen. And again, life is simple. Life is about choices, mm-hmm. and about the way we respond to those choices. If we question our perception, that will cause us to wait and pause before we make any moves or we speak our thoughts.
Right.
It'll cause us to wait, hold back. Maybe I need a little more information before I go running off at the mouth.
Yeah.
Or maybe I need to vent, and I need to know who I can vent to, mm-hmm. because I can't vent to everybody, because this is just me blowing off steam. Mm-hmm. And out of that, I'm going to free my thoughts up. So now it allows me the ability to start putting little things together so I can make the big puzzle again.
That's it.
Right. I can and that's really what life should be. Like, if we were all working together, it would be easier than mm-hmm. it would be working as individuals. And that's why I was sharing with you, when we work together, it wasn't about you working for me, or you being you're not my anything. You work for the company. We both work for the same company. The only thing I was the person who interviewed for a position before you might have, right? I mean, mm-hmm. yes, I have years of experience, and those years of experience are going to be designed to what? Promote you. And as long as I think if we can find people who understand this concept and agree that this is the way we progress and we move forward, mm-hmm. then I think that when we sit down at a table and we want to move together as one, we say, well, how do we do that? Nobody's in their feelings. Everyone's thinking from sound logic, and that's a different perspective. And we didn't understand it. But maybe we don't move right now. Maybe we stop. Mm. And maybe we should consider these perspectives, and then we get a majority rule, democracy, however we want to do it.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is I don't have all the answers. If I had all the answers, then I'd probably be the next billionaire, right? Trillionaire. But I know two is better than one. That's what the word teaches us. Mm-hmm. I know that much. I know that the Father himself is made up of three parts. So If the Father himself, who is the creator of all things, can't even be, he's one person made up of three entities, then why am I trying to work on my own by myself, doing it all by myself?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I do that? That's stupid.
Yeah.
The best way to do is work together with people who we can come to some form of agreement. So when it's time to move forward, we do it as one.
We can do it as
and then we become one people. But we got to stop also letting people define who we are too. That we can't let people tell us who we are. We have to tell the world who we are and what we are. Stop letting people tell you what who you are.
Who we are, what we are, what is our voice. Those are all key principles that we have to apply towards our lives. There's a gentleman I met back in college. I saw him 2 weekends ago. He asked me this question 5 years ago. He said, "Who are you? What are you about? And what is your voice?" Every time I saw him up until this 2 weeks ago, I can never answer that question. You want to know why I can never answer that question?
Why?
Because I'm always changing. As a person, I'm always changing. I'm always evolving. So when I broke it down and said it to him that way, he said, "You finally got it." He said, Amen. Your voice is gonna always change depending on where you are in your life, who you are. You're gonna always know the basics, the root of who you are. But where you are at 39 compared to where you were at 25, you're not that same individual. So that narrative for yourself individually is going to change. And the way that you now understand this picture, you're able to apply that to the society that you live in and help other people to see that shift and that change. So Rick, we coming up towards the end, but I'm gonna open up the floor to you, but I got one last question, because one thing, if anybody ever met Rick or anybody knows Rick, they know him as Mr. Better Than Good. Mr. BTG, Better Than Good. So Rick does have a principle he lives by, better than good. So break that one down for us, brother. And then after that, any other question that I did not ask, feel free to share your thoughts with us.
Sure. Thank you, Reggie. I appreciate that, brother. Family. So better than good. How I came about that, man. It took me years to figure out better than good. And that's my life mantra. That's what I go by. And so I realized this: good is the enemy of great. Good is the enemy of great. If you ever want to be something, why be good when you could be great? Great, being good should be a standard. Oh, he's good. He's good. He's got a good podcast. Would you rather be an expert at being good or an amateur at being great?
I'll take amateur any day.
Amateur at being great. Because being an expert at being good means you've reached a pinnacle. There's no more room for growth. Being an amateur at being good means you're already exceeding expectation, and you just getting started. So when I heard that good is not good enough, good is no longer good enough. That was the day that I realized that I needed to stop being good and I needed to become great, because being great requires that extra step, that extra push, that extra strength that you don't think you have. It requires that one thought that you didn't think you can do it. If I were to ask you, Reggie, what is your max weight bench pressing? And you said, Rick, 250. And so I said, okay. So I said, here, Reggie, I'm going to see it for myself. And you go to lift that weight. And you did it. And I said, man, that's impressive, Reggie. He said, yeah, man, I told you my max was 250. I said, well, that's funny because you were lifting 252. You didn't know it. You didn't know it, that you were actually stronger than you thought you were. And when I asked you what was your max, you said it was 250. But I accidentally put 252 on the bench just so I could see if you could do it. And you lifted it and you had no struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I know you can't do more? And that's the reason why good is such a limiting word, because when you say you're good, most people feel like they don't have to do anymore. They've reached their max. They've done enough to get over.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've done enough to make it through. But when you're great, that means, nah, I don't want to just make it through. I want to make it look easy. I want it to look easy. That when I beat you, it's not a matter of me just beating you, because that's good.
Yeah.
It's annihilating you. You never had a chance.
Right.
And when you think twice about coming for me, you'll think you won't even, I ain't even messing with that dude. That dude, man, there's no way. There's just no way to beat him, right? Why? Because because I'm exceedingly good, which is great. And so if you can make great your standard, then everything in your life becomes better than good.
Awesome.
Everything. Yeah. And so I say that to you, brother, because I've been watching you. Again, I opened up with, I'm very proud of you, of the things that you do. You are you are a real man. And one day I pray that we can follow up and talk the difference between men, males and men, and females and women, because there are differences. There are significant differences between the two. The problem is because in order to be a man, you have to be a male. That we kind of conscrew the two, and we speak interchangeably like they're the same things, and it's not the same thing. Men are men, and males are males. Men are males, but and this is coming from a perspective. You cannot be a man if you're not a male. You have to be a male to be a man, and you have to be in order to be a woman, you have to be a female. That's the way it works. And then you perfect those arts. But I pray that I watch you, because you are a real man, brother. You are doing your thing. You are leading you're not one of those people. What I love about you, Reggie, is everywhere you go, you always remain who you remain true to you and what you believe, and you don't deviate. I'm not going to get Reggie at work, the work Reggie, and then I'm going to get Reggie the homebody Reggie, and then I'm going to get the professor Reggie, and then I get that consistent. And when I think when you are great at being you, and you understand, I think the question, my perspective has always been, I really don't change. I just become more of who I am. As I get older. As I get older, I just become more of who I am, who I was destined to always be. Yeah. Right. I'm just living up to my potential level. I'm living into myself. And so if I choose, if I have a good path, then I live into that path. Right. If I have a bad path, then I live up to that path. And as I change, look, Reggie, if you and I were friends when we were dirt poor, and then I got money, and then I abandoned you, we were never friends.
So no,
we were never friends.
Yeah.
Because if we were friends, it wouldn't have been when I made it. It would have been when we made it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been it would have been we. Because it's not about me. It's about the support mechanisms that got me to where I am. And always remembering them, and always honor and respecting them. And the way that I honor and respect anyone who helps me to succeed is to what? Help them to succeed. So as I grow, you grow. And the only way you would not grow is if you stop trying. If you stop being if you become something that I'm not familiar with, you become unidentifiable. Then I don't know who you are, because I never knew you. I knew what you wanted me to see.
That's it. Yeah.
And so a lot of people will disagree. A lot of people will think, people change. They say a leopard don't change his spots. But that doesn't mean a leopard is always going. That a leopard will always have the ability to hunt. Always. Yeah. Whether he's hunting you or not is different. You know, whether he kisses me and kills you, that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah. Right. But he's still a leopard. Right. And you still can't trust him. Ultimately, you may not be able to trust that cat around certain things, especially if you get hungry. Right.
That's it.
So the reality of it is that I just believe that we all our spiritual beings becoming more of who we are as we learn, as we walk through this journey we call life. What is life? Life is about decision making. Life is about choices that we make. Life is about the way we respond to those choices and how consistent we are at doing these things with some amount of logic or sound logic or out of what we now call habit. Some people have good habits, some people have bad habits. It's not up for me. Life is not so much for me now about good and bad as much as it is about understanding. And the word teaches us very clearly, above all things, do what? Gain an understanding.
That's it.
So all I need is understanding. I just want to understand the people. That I'm not here to evaluate whether I disagree or not. I mean, I don't have an opinion on the whole thing with Will Smith because I can see multiple perspectives.
Right.
I look at it on multiple perspectives. I think there were some things that could have been done pretty, much better, differently. Yep. I think there were some things that that were immature, right? Mm-hmm. I think there was some immaturity. I think when you see something outwardly, it's a result of, like I said, every thought, every action is a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Linked Up, man, is a nonprofit, and essentially, man, it exists to help close the wealth gap, and we do that by providing financial education, home ownership opportunities, entrepreneurship opportunities, and access to mainstream banking to people in underserved communities.
Is a reflection of a thought. So when I see you do something right now, you're shaking your head. Shaking your head means so. Yeah, I can interpret that as you being in agreement. Why? Because that's what you're thinking.
Right.
And so everything is a reflection of something. And our job is, when I look into a man, and when I say man, I mean man and women, mankind, humankind. I look into your eyes. Eyes are the gateway to the soul. Wow, I want to see if I don't see a reflection of myself in you, that means I don't see me in you. That means I don't treat you with the respect because I don't see myself in you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why people can easily disrespect somebody, because they don't see themselves in a person, because they don't respect themselves.
Yeah.
Their eyes are dark. They have no light.
That's powerful.
And so, those are things that are very important to me. These are principles that I live by. And, again, I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I don't. A lot of people will disagree with me. But these are the things that made me through, and these are the things that I teach. I'm not saying I'm right. All I'm saying is I've just seen a lot of people change as a result of hearing different perspectives.
Gotcha.
So please, above all things, don't. It's not for you to like or dislike me as a person. Mm-hmm. It's for you to question your perception, question what you see, what you think you see. You don't know. Yep. You don't know.
Gotcha. So Rick, people that want to come together, they want to learn more from you or, grow with you, how can they get in contact with you? I know you got your Instagram page and email, but how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I think the best way is to email me at Rick's ricksbetterthangood@gmail.com. I think that's probably one of the best ways to reach out to me. I will give you my phone number. This is how serious I am, man. Like I'm serious. I want to talk to anybody who understands what I'm saying and is not just and is just tired of talking about something, man. Like we gotta put something in motion, and then we gotta rely on someone. We gotta rely on others to gather to take us from good, from just having a great idea to making it into fruition, to making it real, building communities, things, whatever we can do to work with. We got to work together. And so my phone number is 757-515-5002. That's 757-515-5002. And my email address is Ricks, RICKS, BTG, better than good. It's literally the B, the T, the G, @gmail.com. And if you want to reach out and communicate with me, I would love that. And Reggie, again, I'm just so proud of you and the work that you're doing, brother. Thank you for having me on. I'm
Yes,
an
sir.
honor.
Thank
It's been
you.
an honor. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to just share with people my perspective.
Yes. Thank you. Champions, that's the end of the show. But make sure that you connect with Rick, Mr. Better Than Good himself, my brother. Make sure that you like the channel, that you subscribe, and that you're sharing this with others, because we are at a point, we're at a pivotal point to where we have to change things. I can't say we got to try. No, we have to change some things in our communities in order to be better as people. So make sure that you are connecting with people. Make sure you are looking at different perspectives, and then make sure you value principles and you live by principles. That's the end of today's show. COE, champion over everything.
Once again, thank you for tuning in to COE, champion over everything.